$4 million is the cost of investigating this case that we will talk about, and this makes it one of the most expensive and largest crimes in the history of all of America. Because the number of its victims was 8 people, all members of one family only. So what is the exact story? The case began on the morning of April 21, 2016, and as I told you at the beginning, the number of victims was 8 people from one family who were killed inside 4 homes in Ohio, America. All of them were killed or beaten by bullets in different parts of their bodies, and their bodies remained in their place in the house. On the same day, April 21st, a girl named Bobby Joe, who was the victim of one of the victims, comes to the house to bring food for the pets in one of the houses where the crime occurred. When you first enter the house, you are shocked to find the bodies of 2 people. The first is named Rodern Sr., and the second is named Gary and Bacon, Rodder's cousin. The houses they lived in were in the shape of trailers and were located next to each other. So as soon as Bobby saw what she saw in the house, she quickly ran outside the house and called the police to report the incident. After she finished the call, she entered the second trailer or the second house, and she also saw 2 people killed, Clarence Frank and his fiancée, Hannah Gilley. The matter was very frightening and heartbreaking at the same time, and it was very difficult as a person to bear all these shocks alone. The thing that Bobby did was that she called her brother and told him about the frightening situation that she had seen and asked him to go to the third house. As I told you at the beginning, they are a large family living in 4 houses. In the third house was their third sister, whose name is Dana, and with her were her 2 children, whose names are Chris and Hannah. Unfortunately, they were dead. 15 minutes away from the 3 houses, the last victim, Kenneth, was in his trailer, dead. Of all the people in the 4 houses, only 3 children survived or are still alive. 1 is 3 years old, 1 is 6 months old, and 1 is only 4 days old. They saw the child, who was 4 days old, in bed with his mother, but the mother was dead while he was alive. The child is 3 years old. Fortunately, his mother was alive because she was not at home at the time of the incident. The boy returned to his mother, and the mother of the 2 younger children was placed in a place designated for child care, something like an orphanage. The victims were Christopher Rodin Jr., 16 years old, Clarence Rodin, 20 years old. Gary Rodin is 38 years old. Hannah Rodin is 19 years old. Hannah Gilley is 20 years old. And Kenneth Rodin, 44 years old. Christopher Rodin Sr., 40 years old. The last unit is Dana Rodin, who is 37 years old. During the investigation, the police noticed that some of the victims had bruises on their bodies, and this means that they were exposed to violence before they died. It is said that the total number of bullets that struck them in this incident was 32 bullets. When the police were trying to collect evidence from the crime scene in order to try to lead to the criminal, they did not find anything, but they said that what had happened was a very large operation and it was impossible for it to have been carried out by one person. There had to be at least 2 people, and these 2 people were very involved in hiding the evidence behind them after that. They won't finish. Unfortunately, very many years passed without the police obtaining any evidence or even any suspect. But the father of Dana Rodin, one of the victims, told the police that the killer most likely knew the family and 100% entered the house with the family's consent. What confirms what he said is that there were no signs of breakage or dislocation on the doors of the houses, and Dana also had 2 guard dogs. This means that if the person was entering by force from the family or entering in a suspicious manner, the dogs would have barked or even attacked him until they tried to remove him from the house. Days and weeks passed without any new development in the case, when the residents of the area began to protest against this issue and tell the police, how could a big crime like this happen in our area, and you have not yet known about it? I mean, at any moment, the criminal could come back again and kill someone else. And you don't know how to hold it. By August 20th, the police began to intensify the investigation further and ask acquaintances of the victims in order to collect more information. The number of people who went and gave information to the police reached 770, but according to what the police said, all 770 of them did not contain useful or logical information that would help in solving the case. By October, the police announced that they had new information and that they were about to arrest people who might be responsible for the crime. However, they did not give any details about the suspect, who he was, how, why, and on what basis they were going to arrest him. They only said that there was a development in the case. The story also lasted for about 7 months, and in May 2017, the police stormed the house of a person about 10 miles from the crime site. The house they were searching was the house of a person named Jake Wagner, who is Hannah's ex-boyfriend. Hannah is one of the victims. The matter developed and they began investigating Jake and his family, all of them his mother, father, and brother. Suddenly, 2.5 years after the incident, the police decided to arrest Jake and all of his family, including his mother, father, and brother. Until now, no one understood anything or knew why they arrested them. The reason they suspected Jake and his family was that there was a dispute between Jake and the victim, Hannah, over custody of a boy. They were leaving behind a boy and then there was a dispute over custody. The police thought that this could be a motive for the crime, and when they looked more into the files of Jake and his family, they discovered that they were accused of many other crimes. One of them was that they were lying to judges or giving false testimony, so they arrested them on this pretext and began investigating them regarding the crime. Then, after they took his mother, father, and brother, Jake, they asked for 2 more from the family. One of them was named Rita, and the other was named Angela. All of them were guilty of tons of crimes, from forgery to conspiracy, cooperation in murders, and everything in between. Of course, for a whole month, the family was denying that he had anything to do with the family murder case, but suddenly Jake decided to change his mind and confess everything. In his court, which took place in 2021, Jake confessed to 8 murders involving family members, in addition to robberies, thefts, and assaults. And 6 very long crimes. The reason he did not know was that he wanted to get rid of the death sentence, because if he continued to deny and say that he was innocent and the charge was fixed against him, they would deal with him in a different way. Of course, you will tell me how they were sure that he was the criminal. The first reason was suspicion, because they knew that there was a dispute between the 2 families over the issue of custody, and the second reason was that the family members confessed to each other. They admitted that they agreed with some of the mother, father, and Jake that they would commit the crime as revenge. They spent many months planning the method of carrying out the crime and the weapon they would use. It turned out that they used a silencer of their own making on their pistols. I mean, they invented a silencer and used it. Each of them went to one of the houses where the family was and killed the people in it, and after they had committed the crime, they threw their pistols in a pool of water. All of them were sentenced to life imprisonment, except for Angela, who was sentenced to 30 years in prison because she did not shoot anyone. But she knew the story and conspired with them. Here we have reached the end of the story. I hope you liked it. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel.